you don't drink tea when you're having tea, that doesn't
Oh,
make sense.
you never drink tea when you have tea.
Yeah, yeah, basically. So when you're having a meal, that would be
Yeah.
pretty weird to see someone drinking a cup of tea with their meal. It doesn't normally
Oh yes,
happen.
that's the weird part.
Yeah, that's the weird part. Yeah.
Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to ASMRtists Around the World, a series where we learn about other cultures in a relaxing way. I'm your host, Sharon, and today we'll be traveling to England with Sammy ASMR. You might recognize Sammy for his podcast. He does his own called the Wiretap Whisper Podcast, which I was recently featured on. And he asked me all questions about ASMR and about before ASMR in my life. So if you want to learn a little more of the juicy gossip in my life, then definitely check out the interview. I put the link in the description box below. Otherwise, welcome, Sammy.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's definitely weird being on this side of the podcast, but definitely excited to get into it. And yeah, a little bit nervous.
It's definitely fun to have this now. You interviewed me, I interview you. The tables have turned.
They have.
All right, well, then I guess let's get started. First, tell us a little bit about who you are and what it means to be from England.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I am a single 26-year-old man from England. I live on my own in the countryside. I am a nuclear engineer by trade, and it's also my job. And obviously, why I'm here is because I do ASMR as a hobby. So I do my own ASMR videos, and like you just heard from Sharon, I also have my own ASMR podcast as well. And I'm just very geeky. So anything from anime, manga, Marvel, anything fantasy really. I'm definitely getting involved with it, and yeah, I'm gonna try my best today to represent England. Um, I feel quite fortunate that Sharon picked me because I know there's so many great English ASMR creators out there. Um, but I do feel like I have a good um, story to tell for England, and hopefully you guys watching or listening can learn a little bit, have a little laugh as well, and yeah, excited to get into the questions.
Yay! Definitely, I'm so stoked to have you here. So, ugh, and I love that you're a geek for the record because I feel like, I don't know, you guys can let me know in the comments, but I feel like a lot of people that watch me are also all about that geek life. If you're not, it's okay. But, anyways, I like geeky stuff too, is my
Yeah.
point. What would you say are some of the most relaxing things to do in England?
Well, I feel like I'm the perfect person to ask that question actually, because, like I said in the background I just give about myself, I live in a rural place called the Lake District. It's in the northwest of England, and it is very picturesque. The clue's in the name. There's lots of lakes, mountains, forestry. There's also coastal environments as well. So it's the perfect place to come to, relax with the family or your partner or something like that for the weekend. It's very tourist driven, so there's plenty of things to do here, especially if you like being out in the wild and the outdoors and just taking in all the scenery. So I feel like I'm quite blessed to live here, because a lot of people travel far and wide to come to the Lake District. And I feel like in the UK, that's one of the main things that you can do that's quite peaceful. There's other national parks in England. There's the Peak District, and there's some other places you can go to that are similar. Or there's the classic seaside day out as well. So I think that's yeah. I think there's some nice peaceful things to do for sure.
That's right. I remember you telling me about the area where you live, and I looked up pictures and actually even saw some pictures you gave me,
Yeah, you do.
and it was so beautiful.
I mean, I love photography. So I'm all about sharing my pictures for sure. So that would be super cool to see them.
Oh, yeah, fun fact, everybody. Sammy is an amazing photographer. So he's just like, he does a little bit of everything. It's nuts.
I am a jack of all trades, but master of none. That's how I like to describe myself.
I think this is what you and me definitely have in common. We like to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, another thing that I would like to point out that's relaxing in England is watching or listening to Sammy's podcast, which I also wanted to get a little bit of background info on. Like, why did you start this podcast?
Yeah, that's a great question. To be fair, there's a couple of reasons. I think the main one is I'm a big podcast consumer myself, so I've always been a fan of them, and I like to learn more about the creators that I follow and influencers that I follow. Sometimes it's sports personalities, sometimes it's video game personalities, and just getting that little dive into their lives is something that really interests me. And I basically realized that kind of thing really didn't exist in the ASMR space. So the opportunity was there, and also the passion was there to do it. And then on top of that, I feel like we have some like exceptional talents in the ASMR community, and I think most people have this amazing story that I want to tell on their behalf. And as a creator, you can do things like Q&As with your subscribers, but I feel like it's a little bit one-dimensional. And they always get asked the same questions. So I thought, let's take it a bit further. I can act as a podcast host, and facilitate this deep and meaningful conversation between two friends, and it's just this relaxing environment. And I get to tell their story and what makes them so amazing. So I would say that those are the main reasons, and I've been loving it ever since.
Now, tell us about the language in England. Obviously, it's English, but what are some fun words or phrases that you would say are unique to just England?
Okay. Well, the thing with England is there's a lot of colloquialisms depending on where you are. Like the north will have some, the south will have some, and then even more isolated specific regions in the north. For example, where I'm from the county called Cumbria, and there are some, I guess it's a dialect, but yeah, there's some Cumbrian words that I guess I could tell you guys. The funny thing is about this, quite recently, I don't know if you know this guy, but there's a famous YouTuber called Korean Billy. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I'm not.
You're not. Well, he does like a language series, and it's similar to you actually. He goes all around the world. Sometimes he'll just look at countries in general, but other times, like the UK, he'll look at really specific dialects, and he actually done a Cumbrian dialect video, like literally like last week, and it was so funny watching him, because it's not a famous dialect at all. Most people don't know where Cumbria is if you tell them, even in the UK. So yeah, to cut a long story short, I guess some words I could tell you. So someone from Cumbria would say, instead of saying home, they would say yam. So instead of saying I'm going home, they would say I'm going yam. Or to take it even further, instead of saying the word going, they would say gan. So they would say I'm gan yam. um, that's a pretty good example.
Oh,
Um,
I like that.
yeah, there's also like words for like a packed lunch. So if you were at work and it was lunchtime, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm going to eat my packed lunch," someone in Cumbria would say, "Oh, I'm going to have my bait." Um, BAIT, which normal people would think is what you're going to, catch fish with. In this case, it's what you're having for your lunch. And to expand on that a little bit further, there's a word for just food in general, and we call it scran. So, you maybe say, "Oh, I'm absolutely starving for some scran." Um, yeah, I won't go too much into detail with some more words, but it's another world up here for sure.
Yeah, that's funny. The bait one makes a lot of sense though. It's kind of like I guess technically our food is our bait, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But is fishing a big thing there?
Uh well, so the county itself is only half landlocked, and the other half is actually by the coast. So I would say a lot of fishing does actually happen. I don't know. I don't know if it comes from that or not, but yeah. But like I said, there's lots of different dialects and accents in the UK. I think
Yeah.
probably one of the most common ones that most people outside of England would be familiar with is like it's called Cockney rhyming slang. And for
Okay.
people from London normally speak that. So
Okay.
instead of saying words, they'll say two words that rhyme with that. So basically, instead of saying stairs, they'll say apples and pears.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, don't even ask because I can't tell you.
So like they would say, "Oh, I'm going to take the apples and pears down to flight whatever level."
I guess. Yeah.
That's so long. Like
Yeah, I don't yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
interesting, interesting.
I think like a northern thing as well is we just add the word lal, which is a slang word for little, but we just add it to like the start of like, phrases or sentences. And, I'm just going for, instead of saying I'm just going for a sleep, they'll say I'm just going for a lal sleep. Or instead of saying, "Oh, I nearly said it myself. I just want to nibble some of that food." They'll say, "Oh, I just want a lal nibble of that." I don't know why. You know, sometimes it will be a little amount, but sometimes it won't, and they'll just still use the word lal, LARL.
So if I was like, "Oh, I really want a big piece of this cake," would I be like, "I want a little big piece of this cake?"
No, I don't think you do that. That's funny.
All right. Now, okay. A lot of English actors are able to do an American accent. We always, in America, they always poach a lot of English actors.
Hmm.
And so I'm kind of curious, like, how's your American accent? Can I see you attempt one?
Well, shit, Sharon, you can absolutely see that if you want to see it, girl. For some reason, I have to do this very southern accent right now because it's the easiest one to do, in my opinion. But I sent Mary Lou down to the river a couple hours ago, but she's been down there all damn day, and I haven't seen her since she got back. So I'm just getting a little bit worried. Mm-hmm.
That is pretty solid, I'm not gonna lie.
You like that?
Like, that's pretty good. Like, I don't understand. You all take a class in school, like how to do American accents, even if it's Southern.
I mean, going back to the geeky things, I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. So there's a lot of role
Mhm.
play, improvisation that happens in that. So I guess I do a lot of accents, through that, or just doing like improvised things on the spot. So I guess that helps. But I've always been good at accents, so
Oh,
yeah, I don't know.
okay. I just real quick want to know what other accents are you good at?
Well, I mean, considering the episodes about England, I guess I could do some other English accents. So this one's called a Geordie. So it sounds a little bit like this, pet. So they say the word pet, instead of friend, but it's like, all right, pet, how's it going? I'm from Newcastle. and you probably can't understand what I'm saying because it's quite a thick, deep accent. So that's a Newcastle accent. And there's also
Okay.
one called a Liverpudlian accent, which is people from Liverpool or more widely Merseyside. They speak this, so it's quite high pitched. So it's a little bit like this, mate. You know what I'm saying, Sharon? So if we got onto a talk like this, Sharon, and I might steal your car radio from your car. You know what I'm saying? So if anyone's from Liverpool and listen to this, I'm very sorry. I've just kind of stereotypicalized you a little bit there, but it would sound a bit like this. That's basically it.
That one is tougher for me to understand, that's for sure.
Especially because I'm trying to keep it soft spoken as well.
Now we're going to move on to my favorite topic, or one of my favorite topics, which is food, because
Okay.
I love to eat.
Um,
What are examples of snacks or candies that are from England? And if you have any that you can show us, please do.
okay. So in a normal world, I would definitely have all the snacks because I love food and I love to snack. Unfortunately, I have a little bit of a health problem going on right now, and it basically cuts out all the snacks and the sweets and the chocolates for me. But I do have something that my mum gave me, and it is this.
Yes, I love Cadbury.
Yeah, you can get Cadbury's, like you can get it in bars. They have variations on the chocolate. Whether it's like caramel in it or whether it's bubbly or something like that. So Cadbury's is definitely the way to go if you're in England and you're looking to pick up some chocolate. I do have something else. It's not chocolate and it's not sweet, but it is a tin of what we call baked beans. Now I know my camera's flipped, so you won't be able to read it, but that's what it says. I promise you, it says baked beans. So what Americans think of beans and what English people think of beans are totally different. So these are little beans in a or as the tin says, a rich and tasty tomato sauce. Now we would have these beans normally for like a breakfast or a lunch. So you would have them with what we'd call a full English. So that normally consists of your beans, your bacon. You maybe have some egg in there, some hash browns, some fried tomatoes, maybe some mushrooms, some black pudding. There's a lot going on in an English breakfast, but it's definitely one of the things that I would advise people to have while in the UK.
Yeah, definitely. So, on the continuing with the food realm,
Okay.
what's a traditional meal you'd recommend someone to try?
Okay. Well, I feel like most people would say this, but the classic is the traditional fish and chips from what we would call a chippy. Um, so these are like little, takeaway establishments. Normally you'll find them, disguised as like a terrace house. Sometimes they're not like standalone things like in America. They're very traditional. They're not privatized things really. Normally they're private run family businesses. And yeah, fish and chips. So it's mainly just a piece of cod that's fried in batter and served with fries. If you're American, they're normally very thick cut, and they'll probably, unless you ask not to, they'll be coated with salt and vinegar. And normally people have them with like ketchup or another sauce. I don't know how world renowned this is, but it's called tartar sauce. I don't like it, and I couldn't describe to you what it is. It's not nice for me. But a lot of people have tartar sauce with their fish and chips. So that's the classic. That's the go-to. If you've never had fish and chips, I would definitely recommend it. Get yourself to a seaside town, something like Blackpool, Scarborough, Whitby. They're really good seaside towns. But I would say most coastal places will have a chippy, quote unquote. And apart from that, I think like the other one is what we'd call a Sunday dinner or a Sunday roast. Because clues in the name. It's something that we normally have on a Sunday. Some people have it other days of the week. They might just be obsessed with it, so that's why. But basically, what that is a so it's normally it's comprised of a meat. So it's either a chicken, a turkey, or a beef. Sliced meat, and then it's served with a gravy. Normally some roast potatoes, maybe some mashed potatoes, and then you'll have what's called a Yorkshire pudding, which is a very classic English thing. I don't know if you've heard of that before, but it's
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've had it.
Yeah, so it's like this thing. It's flour based. It's in the shape of like a bowl, and it's really crunchy on the outside and kind of not really soft in the middle, but it's not like the whole thing isn't very crunchy, if that makes sense. That gets drowned in gravy, and then normally served with maybe some Brussels sprouts, some cabbage, carrots, turnip. The thing is, with a Sunday dinner, you can kind of just orientate it to how you want, but for the most part, it's some type of meat, some potatoes, some gravy, and some vegetables. And like I said, that's normally served on a Sunday, either at lunchtime or dinner time. And I guess this goes back to your previous question, but some people, especially in the north, will call dinner time tea time, which doesn't mean we drink tea. It means that's when we eat. So instead of saying lunch and dinner, some people might say lunch and tea or dinner and tea, especially more the people that live in the north. You don't drink tea when you're having tea, that doesn't make sense.
You never drink tea when you have tea.
Yeah, basically. So when you're having a meal, that would be pretty weird to see someone drinking a cup of tea with their meal. It doesn't normally happen.
Yes, that's the weird part.
Yeah, that's the weird part, yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's funny. I have been to England actually before. And one thing I also noticed is that their Indian food is also delicious, like really amazing. And that specifically chicken tikka masala,
Ooh.
I read online that that's British.
Right. So
not Indian.
Yeah, that was one of the other things that I was going to say was a lot of the dishes that we have over here are actually influenced by other countries. So in that sense, I do think we are multicultural. People often go to Indian takeaways and Chinese takeaways. And especially with the Indian takeaways, a lot of the dishes that are on the menu are not traditional Indian curries, and they're more so have been adapted for English people, for British people and their tastes. Chicken tikka masala is probably the most common, the most popular one, and it is very, very good, as you've probably witnessed.
Yes, I love that. Oh, I'm just right now really hungry thinking about it. Okay, another question. My last one about food. Now, McDonald's tends to have special menu items in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
Is there a special menu item for England?
I would say the one that stands out are what we call fish fingers. Again, playing into the whole fish thing. But basically what it is little strips of, about 4-inch strips of cod that is coated in breadcrumbs and fried. I don't think anywhere else has them. So
I would say you're correct on that because we have our chicken fingers, but I don't think we have fish fingers.
Fish fingers that are classic. You'll find them at McDonald's, but you'll also find them in the supermarkets in like the frozen section. Like other brands do them as well. They're definitely like a popular food in the UK. Apart from that, there's things like bacon rolls. There's like a bacon and cheese like breakfast wrap thing that they do that I saw was unique to us. But definitely the main thing is the fish fingers. They're actually quite popular with kids. Kids will often have them as part of their Happy Meal. Adults don't tend to get them, but you can just buy them on their own if you do want to. Um, but yeah, fish fingers is the UK.
Now, what are some recommendations you have for travelers who visit England?
I mean, I would say the main one is if you haven't got long to spend in England, definitely the hub of things is London, the capital, right? Um, I'd say most of the exciting things, unless you're a very outdoorsy person, is centered there. You've got a lot of museums, a lot of architecture. You've got the West End, so you can go and watch musicals there. Um, the shopping district is very renowned as well. So I would say, if you want to get that traditional English experience, I would start your bets in London. From there, if you have a little bit longer, then you can head west from London to a place called Cornwall. I would say that's quite a nice place. If you compare it to the rest of the UK, it seems like it should be in like a Mediterranean country. It's actually quite exotic compared to the rest of the UK. The weather's normally quite warm down there.
Oh,
Lots of sandy beaches, surfing, things like that. Um,
mm-hmm.
Again, you'll probably find nice fish and chips down there. And then after that, there's some really big cities like Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool. They're also rich with history. Especially Liverpool with like the Beatles, or Manchester with Oasis, two really big bands. If you're into that type of thing. And then again, to plug my own place, if you're more into landscapes and the wilderness and animals and wildlife, definitely get yourself up to the Lake District. Actually, a lot of celebrities, some American celebrities, actually have holiday homes in the Lake District. So that's just how popular it is.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah. And, there are other national parks, like I said, like the Peak District, that are also very beautiful. But yeah, if you want wildlife, come to the Lake District. Especially if you're into hiking, you'll find the tallest mountain in England in the Lake District, which is Scawfell Pike. So that'll be a challenge if you're into that type of thing.
Ooh, that does sound pretty cool. If there's other things you have to share, what activities would you recommend travelers to do there?
If you're into museums, there's like the Museum of Natural History. There's a science museum, and then there's like your art galleries, like your Tate Modern, and stuff like that. Um, if you're into sports, obviously, football, or if you're American, soccer. Um, that's the main sport in England, and there are lots and lots of football stadiums you could go and try and watch a game. I think that would be a really good experience in itself. So if you're into sport, definitely check that out. While you're in London, some of the main things are like Big Ben, the London Eye. I think you can go to Tower Bridge, where they used to keep people imprisoned and stuff like that. There's just a lot of history going on in London. And then, like I said, if you're more of an outdoorsy person, yeah, definitely get yourself to the national parks, or get yourself down to Cornwall, and do some swimming and surfboarding and paddleboarding and all that good stuff. Yeah.
On the sports side, I read that cricket originated in South England. Can you tell us a little bit more about it and if you've ever played it?
Yeah. So it's not the most popular sport in England, but I actually got into it a little bit older. So I think I was around 13, 14 when I got into it. Most kids, when they get into sports, as soon as they can like physically play it, they'll try and get into it. At like 5 or 6. So I was definitely a late bloomer with cricket. I was ended up watching one of the sports channels on English TV, and there was I think it was the Cricket World Cup was on, and I fell in love with the game. I kind of analysed how to play it, just through watching, and then I went down to my local cricket club and I started playing for a couple of years. And I do actually have a cricket ball to show you. So this is what it looks like. It's like a reddish leather, and as you can see down the middle, there's what's called the seam. So basically, what you want to do is when you're bowling a cricket ball or like throwing it, I guess is another word. You kind of want to hold your two fingers here, like either side of the seam, if you can see that, and then your thumb comes underneath, and then when you let it go, it comes out, and the seam, hopefully, if you're a fast bowler, stays straight in the middle, and when it hits off the ground, the idea is to make it swing one way or the other, and that makes it difficult for the batsman to hit it, basically. Um, but yeah, it's still quite popular. It's just not as popular as football or rugby. I would say cricket's the next one down. Um, in baseball, you get one guy that chucks the ball at one batter. It's the same in cricket. However, you'll have, instead of running to bases like you do in baseball, you run between what's called a wicket. Um, so if you're a bowler, you're bowling at the batsman who has three like wooden poles behind him, with two little other wooden pieces on the top called bails, and your goal as the bowler is to hit them wickets and knock the bails off. In as much, as simplified as I can tell it. And then as a batsman, you got to hit the ball like baseball as far as you can, and you run from one end of the wicket to the other. When you run from one end, you'll be batting with someone else, like a partner, and they'll run to the other end, and then they'll be facing the next ball. Basically, you get 10 wickets or 10 outs. Once that's happened, then the other team bats, and then you bowl, basically. Like baseball, you have fielders, that try and stop the ball from running. You can catch someone out. It's very, very similar to baseball. Also very different. But yeah, I love cricket. It can be a bit slow for people. I don't know if baseball has this, but there's like different variations of how cricket is played. Some cricket games are actually played over 5 days, which is quite a long time, I know.
Wow.
Yeah, some cricket's actually played over 4 hours. So there are short forms of the game and also long forms of the game.
Have you done the Harry Potter studio tour in England?
I have done the Harry Potter tour. If you're in London, it's very easy to get to. Basically, what you'll want to do is you'll want to get yourself to, I think it's Euston Station, and you want to get a train to Watford Junction. It'll cost you like a couple of pounds. And then from there, they have a shuttle bus that takes you from Watford Junction Station to the studio. It's very well run, very well organised. And the actual transport getting there is pretty cheap. And yeah, I actually went with my ex-girlfriend. Sore subject. No, it's cool. We're cool.
Oh.
And no, it was on. I mean, like I said, I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan, but I have watched all the films, and I know what's going on. They have lots of memorabilia there, lots of behind the scenes stuff. They've got some sets there. If you, you know, if you're even remotely a Harry Potter fan, I would definitely suggest going there. If you visit London, no pun intended, it is a magical experience, and you will have lots of fun. They have, if you're quite adverse with the Harry Potter world, they have butterbeer there that you can drink, which is okay. It's not going to blow your socks off. I'll tell you that now. But it's not disgusting. It's like this nice in between. But it's cool just drinking butterbeer because you see it on the films, like you want to do it.
Yeah.
So I would definitely, definitely go there. Even if you're just a little bit interested in Harry Potter. Obviously, if you're a mega fan, then it's like a must. But yeah, really good time, honestly.
Tell me about a popular festival in England.
Okay, so I feel like most people, when you say the word festival, would automatically go to music festivals that are very popular in the UK. I've never been to a US music festival, but from what I know, they are a completely different culture. And I would say the most popular one is Glastonbury. I feel like most people from outside the UK in the Western world will have heard of that. They always get the biggest and best artists from all around the world at Glastonbury.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, in terms of crowd size and popularity, I would say it's one of the biggest ones as well. In terms of the style and genre of music, it's very diverse. A lot of UK festivals are more dance music based, or maybe like heavy metal based. Glastonbury is kind of in its own niche. There's a lot of like alternative music going on there, but you also find some pop stuff, and also like rocky stuff as well. So it's very diverse. Um, but if you want to come to the UK and plan it around a festival, I would say Glastonbury is definitely the one to put at the top of your list for sure. I've never done it myself. I love music, but I'm not a big festival guy. The whole social aspect of it is too much for my anxiety, unfortunately. But um,
Honestly, it's fair because I like definitely get like first of all, as someone who's really short like myself, like I can't see anything usually unless someone puts me on their shoulders. And then secondly, I definitely have a fear of mosh pits. Like I'm not going near that.
oh yeah, no, I don't blame you in the slightest. Um, there are other really good festivals. I would say Reading and Leeds is another big one. Creamfields is another big one. Um, there are so many all across the summer. They do mainly take place in the summer. Outside of music festivals, um, England specifically, there's not a lot. I would say one of the most popular ones is what one called Solstice at Stonehenge. So Stonehenge is a World Heritage Site in England, and if you don't know Stonehenge, basically it's just this hill with these big stone pillars that are arranged in like a circular shape, and it's just I don't know if people know why it's there or not. I don't know. I'm not that much of a historian. I think it's the summer equinox. You'll get loads of people that go and connect spiritually to the stones, I guess. So yeah, if you want to know more, I don't know much, but if you Google Stonehenge, you'll find pretty much everything you need to know there.
I did like a day tour to Stonehenge and then also went to I think Bath. And is it Bath where I think they have all the really delicious ciders? I had a lot of good cider. That's what I remember.
Oh well, yeah, the UK definitely is renowned for cider. Um,
Yeah.
that's normally my go-to drink actually. Um,
Yes.
if I'm not a big like beer or lager drinker or ale or anything like that. I normally go for cider, especially in the summer.
Mhm.
I like a fruity cider.
Mhm.
It's quite a feminine drink, but I don't mind. I enjoy it, so I'm going for it.
I mean, it's delicious. Like
It is good.
I don't I don't see why everyone doesn't love it. So
No, yeah. If you've never tried cider before and you come to the UK, um, yeah, I would go for like a strawberry cider. Some good brands I like Recorder League, Bulmers, Magners. You can't go wrong with those. Basically, there's another one called Old Moot. Yeah, beautiful with some ice. Oh, gorgeous.
that sounds amazing. Too bad it's getting colder, not warmer right now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
okay. So, who are some of your favorite musicians or bands from England? And of course, I know there's like the iconic ones like the Beatles that are from there.
Right. Yeah, I think the most famous is the two I mentioned before, like Beatles and Oasis. Um, I think they're really big. And if you do want to learn more about them and their history, the Beatles are from Liverpool, and Oasis are from Manchester. Manchester's actually pretty close to where I live, all things considered. It still takes a while to get there, but most things take a while to get anywhere when you live where I live. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, them two cities in particular are very rich in musical history. Um, so if you like that, I would definitely pay them a visit. But my personal music tastes in terms of English bands, I love Arctic Monkeys. I don't know if you've heard of those, Sharon.
Mm, Right. Oh, yeah, they're really popular.
So yeah, if you like Arctic Monkeys, I would definitely recommend bands like the Cortinas, Miles Kane. They're really good. They're really good English bands that are similar. I feel like when you ask me about bands and my favorite bands in the UK, um, these what I'm about to show you isn't a favorite band of mine. It's actually a favorite band of my dad's. So um, I think the scene's quite big in America, but in the UK, there's a big what we call punk scene, punk rock, um, which kind of started, in the 60s, 70s, I want to say. Um, it's kind of fizzled out since the like the 80s. But my dad, when he was a kid, like a teenager, he was into his punk rock, and he was actually in a local band. He was the drummer, and that's how he met my mum, because she was a singer in the same band. My mum is actually in a bit more denial about the whole situation. She doesn't like bringing that up because yeah,
That's awesome, though.
my mum's just not punk rock anymore. But my dad stick true to his roots. So I basically got an album by the band called the Sex Pistols, and they are probably one of the most famous punk rock bands in the UK or in England. And this is that what I just showed you was one of their most famous albums called Never Mind the Bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols. So yeah, one of the most famous songs is Anarchy in the UK. If you want a quick sample of what punk rock is about and what the Sex Pistols is about, I would definitely go and check that out. But it probably isn't your cup of tea. And I
Hey, I
do
like a
have
variety of music.
Yeah, and I do have this. He gave me like this magazine to show off as well. It's like a punk magazine. I don't know when it's from. It looks pretty new. Um, but yeah, there's a big article about the Sex Pistols on there. Yeah, and to name some other punk rock bands that are big in the UK, there's like the Buzzcocks, the Ramones, the Clash, the Jam, the Stranglers. They're all really big. I would actually say like a lot of American people would know some of their songs, but you just wouldn't know it was by them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Especially like the Clash and Ramones. But yeah, there's a little bit more show and tell for you.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, I think we do a good job with singers and bands. You look at Adele and Ed Sheeran, both English, and look at what they've achieved on the international music stage. So yeah, I think
Right.
we're pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. What about for TV shows? British TV shows.
Okay, so I feel like a classic one that even Americans would know is Doctor Who. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I used to be a big Doctor Who fan as a kid. Like I've always been geeky. I've always liked my sci-fi stuff. And if you don't know what Doctor Who is, he's basically this guy from another planet, another galaxy, and he goes around the universe, saving other um, races and life forms with his police box that travels through time. Basically, he is what they call a Time Lord. Um, so he has a police box, and it looks like a police box from the outside, but when you go in, it takes you into his big like time traveling spaceship, and he has a device called a sonic screwdriver, which is just very ironic and very comedic when you think about it. Um, he doesn't screw any any screws with it, I guess.
Right.
But it does like sci-fi stuff, and yeah, he just goes around. It's obviously based around the Earth. You'll get aliens that come in and try to take over the Earth, and he'll stop them basically. Uh, Kind of like Star Trek esque, that type of vibe, but it's definitely got its own little niche. In the UK, you have long running what we call soap operas. that have been running since like the 60s. Not my cup of tea, but you'll find all the mums and dads watching those on a Saturday
Yeah.
and a Sunday. All through the week, I think. Most of them are on like every night. Um,
Yeah.
but to name a few, you've got Coronation Street, um, EastEnders, and like Emmerdale. Like they're the three. But I'm not going to talk about them because it will bore your head off. They are just soap operas. It's a classic like little village. Maybe there's a murder, maybe there's an affair, that type of thing.
Scandals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, let's bring it to just, I guess, England in general. What would you say has, like, what's a unique cultural tradition for England?
Okay, so I feel like with this one, we have to go with Bonfire Night. Um, so on the 5th of November every year, people, I mean, it's an English tradition. I would say people in Scotland and Wales maybe also celebrate it. But yeah, we have what's called Bonfire Night, and it's basically harps back to a story from a couple of centuries ago where the Houses of Parliament in London were blown up by a guy called Guy Fawkes. He eventually got caught and he was sentenced to death, I believe. But ever since then, because he blew up the Houses of Parliament with like dynamite and stuff, we set off fireworks on and around the 5th of November every year. And we'll also have big bonfires where, people will just get like scraps of wood together, whatever they can get together, put it in a pyramid shape and set it on fire, basically. So it's quite good because around that time of the year in the UK, it's really cold. So, people will
Yeah.
go out to like firework displays or bonfire displays, and there'll be a big bonfire and people will gather around, and then people will set fireworks off, and you'll have like sparklers, like little sticks that like sparkle on the end, like you got wands.
Yeah.
And then I think you're going to laugh at this. Because I told my dad I was going to say this, and he was like, that's not very cultural. And I was like, well, it's funny though. So basically, I think everyone that thinks of England, thinks of cups of tea and drinking tea, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically what happens every morning in the UK is the people that run the electricity grid for the whole country, they have to boost their electricity output in the morning to accommodate for all the people knocking their kettles on to get a cup of tea.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's how many people turn their kettle on, electric kettles, to get the hot water to make their English tea.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Do you have tea every morning too?
Well, you're just going to feel even more sorry for me because I'm not really supposed to drink it with my current health situation.
No.
But I did.
Sammy.
I know, it's sad. I did used to drink a cup of tea every morning. Some people will have 4 or 5 cups throughout the day. For all intensive purposes, they are addicted to tea. I was able to manage it to just 1 in the morning because it's nice. Sometimes, you'll just get an urge for what we call it, a brew. Stick a brew on, put a cup of tea, make a cup of tea, stick a brew on. Sometimes you just get an urge for a cuppa, and I definitely have withdrawal symptoms from not being able to drink it. But yeah, it's a pretty big part of English culture, I would say. A nice cup of tea.
Yeah.
So normally, there's a little bit of debate on like how to make it and the steps. Some people do the steps a little bit differently in terms of how you make it. So I like to put my tea bag in, and then an optional step is to put sugar in. I put sugar in. I put 2 teaspoons of sugar in. Then I'll put my boiling water in. Take my tea bag out once it's brewed a little bit, and then I'll pour my milk in. Some people don't have sugar. Some people will do that slightly differently. Some people will put the milk in first, and then people are wrong. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so as we start to wrap things up a bit, I'd love to hear about, now that we've heard about England, I'd be curious to know, like, where's one of your favorite places that you've been around the world?
Good question. And like yourself, Sharon, I'm a little bit of a traveler, or should I say, I'm a little bit of a traveler. um, so I actually done to bring up my dad again. I actually done 2 road trips around America with my dad. One on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. Um, we visited some amazing places. So the West Coast one, we started in LA and we visited. We went up the coast, the Big Sur. I don't know if you've ever done that, Sharon, but oh, it's beautiful. Across up the Big Sur to Monterey, and we done some like whale watching there. Went up to San Francisco. Done all your normal San Francisco things like your Alcatraz and your Golden Gate Bridge and your Fremont Street, I think. Or is it Lombard Street? I always mix them two. One's in Las Vegas, one's in San Francisco. But it's the one that like winds down the hill.
Yeah, Lombard Streets in San Francisco. Yeah.
Yeah. So from there we went to Yosemite. Like Yosemite is kind of like the Lake District. It's the same thing happening, except it's a lot warmer. The climate's a lot warmer. I would say like the mountain ranges are on like a bigger scale to some extent. But I loved Yosemite. Like I would go back there in a heartbeat. I know you've been yourself, I think.
Yeah, yep. I even did a little ASMR video about it.
Yeah, I did say that. So maybe we should do a Shaz and Sammy Yosemite trip.
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And then from there, we basically went to Vegas via Death Valley. Then went from Vegas to the Grand Canyon to Monument Valley, and then basically made our way back to LA. That's probably my favorite trip I've ever done. The East Coast was more, like monuments and urban settings, like less wildlife. But again, that was still very nice. And then an honorable mention, I would say, is the Greek island Santorini. Again, somewhere I went with my ex, but we both had a great time. Just a beautiful island.
Awesome. Now, where's one place you would like to visit one day that you haven't been?
Well, that's easy for me because I think about this all the time, and it's definitely got to be Japan. I love all things about it. I'm a big anime and manga fan, which, if you are in the first place, that's like the biggest pull ever to go to Japan.
Right.
Apart from that, I really like the food. I'm not a big fish guy, which I know is like, a massive part of their, cuisine there. But, they do have pork and beef balls and stuff like that as well. So I love that. And then in terms of what else, it's just, the whole scenery and tradition and the landscapes in Japan, with the cherry blossoms and stuff, like it's just a photographer's paradise. So just everything about it is amazing. And that's definitely at the top of my list.
I think like the past like 5 ASM artists that I've interviewed for this series have all said Japan too.
Oh no,
funny.
Take that saying again. I'll say something else.
No, it's fine.
I'm joking.
I think it's great though. Like that clearly, like Japan is also one of the places that has been my favorite to travel. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I can vouch.
It's gonna make everyone want to go there.
Yeah, I think to round out like a top 3 would be like New Zealand and Peru.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Now, is there anything else that, we haven't discussed? Do you think people should know about England?
Well, I don't know. I think we've covered it quite well. I don't want to not do it justice, but like there isn't like much to talk about. I feel like England is very similar to the US in the sense that it's adopted a lot of cultures and a lot of it's just there's a lot of influences from other countries and traditions. So I feel like that's one of the strengths, but also because of that, there's not a lot to talk about. Um, I do have some more things to show.
Okay.
So my throat's just gonna play up, but we have a bottle of Pims here. I don't think you have this in the US. It's an alcoholic drink.
I don't think so.
No. So Pims is quite an English. Yeah, it says on it produced in Great Britain. So normally in posher settings, we'll call it posher settings. Around the summertime, people have like garden parties, stuff like that. People crack out the Pims. It's quite a fruity drink. People normally get like a big jug, pour some Pims in, pour some lemonade in, and then so our lemonade is not your lemonade. So when I say lemonade, I mean like Sprite or like 7 Up. They'll pour some of that in, and then they'll fill the jug with various fruits and things like that. And then yeah, they'll pour it into individual glasses, and then have it, and get drunk basically. So yeah, that's a classic English drink. There's some Pims.
Awesome.
Yeah. So some nice cider and some nice Pims. So basically, what we're trying to say is, me and Sharon are just want you to come to the UK and get drunk.
Pretty much.
Oh, I do have this to show off for any Harry Potter fans. I do have Newt Scamander's wand. I don't know if you can see it there. Yeah, it's a pretty good shot. I did do a Newt Scamander role play. So if you're into Harry Potter, definitely check it out. Definitely give that a check out. I think if you go into the studio tour, or you do anything Harry Potter in the UK, they normally sell them like ones, or you can actually get your own personalized one. So yeah, there we go. There's my nice piece of wood, which is what essentially it is, but it's cool.
Perfect. All right, well, now we're going to cap it off with an ASMR trigger. So, Sammy, show us one of your favorite triggers.
Do I say what it is, or am I making you guess?
You could do either way. Dealer's choice.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're gonna guess what it is anyway, but here we go. Let me try and give it my best shot. My favorite trigger is mouth sounds.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was like, well, I'm hearing this and this is different from that. And I was like, which one are, I was like, I think it's a clicking and then it's mouth sounds. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
I was just doing a couple of different ones there, but yeah, for the most part, any and all mouth sounds are very welcomed by my ears. I love it. And that last little thing I did with the tongue is a little ode to Jinx ASMR. She does that as part of her intro, and I find it really tingly, especially when you get like, I couldn't really do it with that mic because it's not binaural. But when you do that from like one ear to the other, it's super, super tingly.
Ooh. Yay.
There we go.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sammy, and definitely make sure to check out his channel. He has a ton of awesome content, both ASMR for his own stuff as well as his podcast where he interviews a bunch of other creators and learning about their lives and everything. So definitely check him out. Otherwise, thank you so much for being on ASMRtists Around the World.
Thank you for having me again. I feel like so honored because there are so many amazing English ASMR creators, and you decided to choose me. So very thankful for you, Sharon, and I love what you're doing as a fellow podcast host. It's very admirable, and I think you do an amazing job of not only being a podcast host, but also opening the community to these other amazing creators around the world in countries that you probably wouldn't even expect people to do ASMR from. So yeah, great job. So thankful that you had me on, and I've had a blast. So yeah, thank you very much.
Yay, thank you. All right, well, then I hope that everyone watching or listening has a relaxing rest of your day and flutters away.